Hola socios, hola equipo. My name is Neil.
I'm Liam. This is John Nurnberger from Kansas City, Missouri, USA.
Murray Field near Brisbane in Queensland.
Edinburgh.
Barcelona.
And I'm a socio.
I'm a socio.
I am a socio of The Big Interview.
Hi, my name's Neil. I'm a socio of The Big Interview from Murray Field near Brisbane in Queensland. My favourite episode of the last season was the one with Sir Les Ferdinand. I never realised that he'd actually played in Turkey at the start of his career. Every time I listen to an episode, I always learn something new. Keep up the good work. Thanks.
Hi there, it's Graham Hunter. Welcome to The Big Interview. If perchance this happens to be your debut, then welcome to the podcast series that's had millions of listens, dozens of interviews with top-class footballers and managers, and which is clinically proven, yes, we can prove it, to help your commute and make your dog walking more enjoyable. So, in this second section, James talks about the impressive and, to me, inspirational work that he's done with, he reached for a name here, the James Milner Foundation. And he also tells us what he learned from Real Madrid. In fact, I think what the squad learned from Real Madrid in last year's Champions League final and why he thinks Liverpool can get to the final again. A decent bet, I reckon. I'd like to thank everybody at Liverpool for helping set this up, James for having been so much fun to talk to, and to Matthew Buck, and to you, the Big Interview listeners. Thank you for being there.
I'm going to finish with a little bit before I need to ask you about something a bit more serious, a bit more important. I noticed that Fernando Araujo made his debut in what's the Paraguayan Clásico the other day and scored aged 14. So that little Champions League thing when you were on the verge of breaking through, but just about 2 years short. Would you, retrospectively, could you have been ready at 14 to play elite football, top division football?
It's hard to say, isn't it? I think obviously it's more the physicality, really, I'd say, at that age. And you look at some players at 14, they are developed a lot quicker than others. So if they are ready and they've got the football ability and the football brain, why not?
Could you have?
I have no idea. I think looking back now, 16 was ridiculously young, really, and I wasn't allowed to play in the Europa or the UEFA Cup game because UEFA said I was too young. So I wasn't allowed to.
That?
Nah, yeah, it was. I didn't even know I was in the running, really. I was in the reserves and stuff like that. And my mum was in town, I think, and she seen on a headline Milner banned by UEFA, and that was the
honest mum, I haven't done anything.
Yeah, exactly. And she was like, "What's all this about?" And you read the story, and it was basically that you had to have played for your team for 2 years since your 16th birthday or some madness like that. So I couldn't play that game anyway. And then I made my debut for the first team maybe 6 weeks after that or something like that. But yeah, that was. I think back now, I think how ridiculously young I was, but at that time you just eye on the prize, keep head down and focused, and thinking now, you're thinking all my schoolmates who I'd been in a classroom with 4 or 5 months before, a lot of them would have probably been in the ground watching me score against Chelsea or whatever, and you know, proud thinking about that. But at the time, it's just games and this is what I want to do, and you don't really realise, you're just concentrating on doing what you're doing.
Confidence of youth as well, I guess, eh?
Yeah, I think so, and it's one of those, you don't know all the mistakes that you know now, or the cynical things and things like that, which is nice. Yeah, I haven't got that to sort of cloud your judgment, have you?
In that run, when your team, although you weren't playing Thrash Deportivo La Coruña, on the bench that night was a certain Joan Capdevila, who links us. Because out of the blue, just ahead of the summer, I got a phone call from Owen Hargreaves, who I'd met as part of Michael Carrick's testimony. He said, "Listen, I'm really want to support James and his foundation and the match with Stilling Petrov. But my knees, have you got anybody could you find?" So I was thrilled to get the chance to support. And Joan Capdevila came over and I think got 6 or 7, I can't remember how. Joan got a couple of goals, didn't he?
Got 2, yeah.
At Parkhead. And had the time of his life. Tell us about the game, but also tell us about Bloodwise, tell us about your work with the children's charities. Effectively, try to give me a feeling for why all this has become quite so consuming, quite so important to you. Because you do an extraordinary amount of work, and what's clear is it's a passion of both for you and your wife, and it's successful, it's growing.
Yeah, hopefully. I think, it's our 7th year of the James Milner Foundation. This year was the first game that we had with Stilian, Petrov's foundation and the Celtic Foundation at Celtic Park, and put the match on and raised a good amount for the charities, split the 3 ways.
Between?
So it was the James Milner Foundation, Stilian Petrov Foundation and the Celtic Foundation.
Okay.
So the James Milner Foundation, when we set it up, NSPCC we support and always have done. Help for Heroes. NSPCC, I've been an ambassador since I was 18.
At Newcastle, right?
Yeah, that's when it first started, yeah. Help for Heroes was a charity we supported with the England Foundation, and met some people and servicemen and women and spoke to them and seen their stories, so it was one we wanted to support. And then at that time, just as we were launching the foundation, Stilian obviously found out, unfortunately, that he had leukemia. So that was obviously tough, and him going through that. So we added the third one, which was leukemia at that time. Now it's Bloodwise, was added. So we have a charity ball every year. We've had one golf day, which was more an awareness raiser, but since then we've had a charity ball each year, and we've actually got ours on the 25th of November, which is this Sunday. This year we're up to about nearly 700 people going.
Oh, fantastic.
Gary Barlow's performing this year.
Sensational.
So people over the years, we've had JLS, Kaiser Chiefs, people like that. So the acts are amazing that we've had. And this year we've added Motor Neurones Disease Association, because of obviously, unfortunately, Stephen Darby is someone who's looked after by Matthew Buck, my agent, and obviously met him a few times before. I speak to his wife, Steph, they've only been married a few months. Steph Houghton, who's at Liverpool, Man City and England women's captain.
Dodie Weir, the Scotland international too. Scotland Rugby International is motor neuron, and is working hard to raise both funds and awareness too. So
yeah, I mean, it's a terrible disease, and any help they can get, and I think raising awareness. Most people think it's a disease which is just for older people, and Darbs is only a young guy, and it's hard work doing the balls every single year. It's like getting married really in a way every year, and doing the table plan and sorting all those sorts of things, and you've got to keep them away from them and keep the lads away from the manager's table in case they want a slide drink and things like that. But when you speak to the people at the charity and you go visit the charity and you see where the money's going and people it's helping, and the
summer
people are going
camps,
through
for
stuff.
example,
Yeah.
research for Bloodwise.
Yeah, and it's massive really, and it makes it all worthwhile, and you want to help as much as you can.
Why is it so important that people like you, many people like you, Michael Carrick's involved too, need to be investing so much time and money into community to stop kids suffering from deprivation, not eating properly, not having sport to motivate them, going down the wrong path? Why is that necessary?
I think
don't go somewhere you don't want to go.
I think sometimes the focus gets taken off of this country, and you're thinking around the world and other stuff, and there's problems right in front of us that need dealing with as well. And I think from my point of view, it was a conversation 7 years ago between myself, Matt, and Amy, who's now my wife, and Matthew, my agent, and it was, what can we do to help? I think we're very fortunate to play football. We know that. I've been lucky enough to play since 2002 professionally. It's a long time. Football's been good to me. I do something I love and I get paid well. And we have you're well known for that. You have an image, you have people coming up to you and saying nice things and bad things, and you're always in the spotlight, whatever you're doing. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not. You might want a quiet day with your family, but you can't always have that. And that is what we can use to help really, and use that as a positive side, and give back as much as we can, and help these various charities that we support, and other initiatives as well, like the Liverpool Foundation. We've teamed up with them and put on the camps for the kids and football, and like we spoke about football today, and your obvious love for the game and that romantic side. I think that's what's not only football but sport can do. And when people are having tough times in their life, you go out on that football field for 90 minutes, or whether you're a fan or whatever, you see how much it means to so many people. With all these other bad things that are going on, sport brings people together, and football brings people together, and helps on that other side, and people who football is the number one thing in their life. No matter what's going on in their life, they can go back to football and take their mind off the things that they're going through.
And it's about drive and self-respect and personal fitness and achieving things. We watched some of the extraordinary things you did with ex-servicemen who've been injured, who couldn't function, and sport has given them just a new adrenaline, a new self-confidence.
Right, a lot of them feel like once they've had the injury, their purpose is gone and things like that. And it's not only them, it's their families and friends who are going through all that with them. This person who might have changed physically but mentally as well, and they have to see them go through that. So these people are highly driven individuals. They had a big purpose in the army or in the services or whatever they're doing, and they have an injury, whether it's physical or mental, and they feel that's taken away from them, and they don't feel the same sort of person. So then to realign their goals and use sport or physical activity to give them a new goal and drive and purpose, it is massive. And we're lucky enough to be called heroes at times, and people that are heroes, football heroes, whatever, but we're going out and kicking a ball about. These guys are going out and keeping us safe and putting their lives on the line.
I can't leave this chapter of a chat without, because on your website there's brilliant footage of the women's deaf team who aren't going to be able to go and compete until you raise you give them, invest in them a significant sum of money, and they go out there and win a medal. And there's footage of them scoring brilliant goals, and the joy as well, bring it back to football as well, because not all the projects that you can invest in need to have anything to do with football. Well, that one did, and they come back with what, bronze?
Yeah, I think it was one of a quick thing. We obviously raise funds throughout the year and they go to the charities, and we leave some in case something like that comes up, really. And they was basically saying, we've done all this hard work, we've made these sacrifices, but if we don't raise this money, we're not going. So for us to be able to do that, that's exactly what it's there to do, I think. And that's another great story of why we do it. And they went out there and did the business, and we had them back at the ball the next year, and they had the medals with them and things like that. So it was great to see them and the success that they had.
Pretty sensational. Now, our sponsors are Bet365 for this. And they've sent in a couple of quick questions for you. So these are quick fire and less romantic.
Right.
Would you like to return to Leeds at some point in your career?
I get that so many times. Every time I see a Leeds fan. I'd never say never. I obviously love my time there. Nobody knows what's going to happen in football in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Hopefully I can play as long as possible. But it's a club I love. It's a club I love seeing them do well this year.
Bielsa football?
And they deserve to be back in the Premier League. So anyone who doesn't have a blue bucket in Leeds needs to go out and get one.
That's sensational. Absolutely fantastic. Your favourite type of tea, Yorkshire or PG?
Yorkshire.
If you can play in midfield alongside one player, past or present, who would it be?
Oh, what a terrible question that is.
Thank you.
Zidane's a great shout. David Silva's a great shout. Stevie G's a great shout. If it's midfield and there's two of us in there, I'd probably have to say Stevie G, just as an all-round player. He could do absolutely everything.
Very solid, safe answer in this surroundings as well, I'd have to say. When you hear the term Mr. Consistent, who's the first player you think of?
Probably Gareth Barry.
Is it true, and I know the answer to this is yes, I don't mean to cheat by giving you your answers before, is it true you could have played professional cricket?
I wouldn't say professional. I played for Yorkshire when I was 11 as a wicket keeper, but that's a long way off being.
Do you know you set a new record? It's unbelievable, because we sat down with Phil Neville, who's sort of a bit, and he talked about how Neville, his dad, and his mum had approved him playing in professional Lancashire League cricket against Otis Gibson. I think he went on, who's West Indian international, went on to be bowling coach for England as well, age 14, and I think he said without a helmet as well. I'm fairly sure. Phil, did you say without a helmet as well? So you've set a new, playing 11 is
11, 12. I played one game a couple of years up, and it was Tim Bresnan was bowling, so that's my claim to fame in the cricket world.
So that's a definite yes to that question, although you didn't use the word yourself.
Well,
from my point of view, it's a yes.
Okay.
Grant, so in the last of these, I didn't write this one, okay? And I've avoided this subject the whole time because you must be sick of it. Who's the most boring player at Liverpool? Yeah, you're right.
I've got one in my head, but I'm going to have to say me.
Mime it. No. Oh, man. That's a body swerve if ever I saw one.
Nah, I couldn't do it to him. I couldn't do it.
Okay.
I'll have to say no comment.
We finish on this. I'd rather be looking ahead to positive things because I have quite widely tipped Liverpool, in my opinion, as very prominent chances to win the Champions League this season because I see progression, I see experience. I've seen it in groups of players before that when you go the course, very often it brings a maturity and a desire, a learning that takes you onwards. Rather than pinpoint that, because there's two quite interesting games coming up, what do you and what has the group taken from that final last season? Because getting there was stupendous. It was an extraordinary watch from a distance, some brilliant football, lots of passion, and then what seemed like a jinxed night, more or less. But you haven't come this far in your life or your career without drawing something from pain. So what do you take from that experience?
You take pain from it, like you said. That's one that and the Europa League for me is two massive regrets and disappointments in my career. But you take from that the drive and wanting to put that right and go again. I think the team belief that they should have taken from that, the experience, you say you have experienced players and players who have won trophies and stuff like that, but it's different when you go into another team and you're in it together. So getting to finals as a group of players together with that manager and as a group of players, that can only stand you in good stead. I think, again, the belief of the teams we beat along the way. Mm-hmm. And I think that wasn't the problem. Before even, like I said before, we were played in phases, and I think over the last 3 years you've seen us develop, be more consistent, and we always felt like on one night we could beat anyone on our day. But I think even this season, we've got our results, a couple of poor results, but mostly played pretty well. But not like we know we can, and I think few people have said that, and we have got another gear, which is the pleasing side, and maybe a steely toughness that we've added to our game, that we can get those results when you're not quite playing at your top level, and it's a long season, we know that. So coming into this period now, December, with all these games coming up, the league table always looks a lot different before and after, and I think we're looking as it the most successful start to a Premier League season or joint or something like that, to be in that position and people still looking at a season and us within the dressing room and think, well, we can improve there, we can improve this, we can do this better. That's a massive thing to have, I think, if you're in the position we're in and you've had a great start to the season, but you're playing as well as you can be. Where do you go from that? So I think the fact that we know we can improve is very, very positive and something that we want to keep doing on this journey that we've been on, and hopefully we can keep progressing like we have done over the 2 or 3 years since the manager's been here. What
did you see in Real Madrid that night? Let's take the Ramos Salah out of it and forget it, and let's leave the keeper out of it. What did you see in them?
That experience and knowing how to win, I think that was what people were talking about before, that experience of being at finals, arguably maybe we've taken some of that and put it into ourselves the start of this season. Find a way to win. Yeah. Things aren't going well. I think first 25 minutes, half an hour, whatever, I think we were probably the better team. I think when we got the equaliser, our tails were up, we were pressing all over the field. I think at that moment in time, if you asked me who was going to win, I'd have said us. And then obviously there's a moment of brilliance, arguably one of the greatest goals in European final ever, I would say, being biased.
It's an extraordinary moment.
The fact it didn't get anywhere in the voting.
Can you understand that?
No, obviously people who are doing it don't understand football, but Ronaldo's bicycle kick was amazing as well, but I think you put into it the context
in a final
to change the game of a European final, to do that, having just come off the bench,
to even just have it, because there's no element
to attempt it,
to I know what Marcelo's going to do, I know what I can do with it. It's
you've got a half a second to decide to do it, and then do it, and then from that point, obviously there's only one team that looked like winning, unfortunately, and I think we can take a lot from the fact that to go down in a final like that and keep going and get back into the game says a lot about our side as well. But from their side, it shows that experience, that know-how and winning trophies and being used to it. And I think, we just need to get over the line in one here. You've seen the teams progressing. We've seen them getting better and better. I think when I was at City, the first one was important, the FA Cup. Once we had that, you had that belief. We know we can win trophies, and you go on to win the league the next year.
And I'll leave you on that because you have to train this afternoon. I could go on for a long time because this is an extraordinary pleasure for me. Maybe less so for you, but for me, extraordinary. Before your story at Liverpool ends out, that you're lifting a trophy and enjoying doing so.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Cheers.